Hi, everybody. Welcome to the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. I am Dr. Sarah Gordon, and I am here with a really special friend, special guest. I'm honored to have him on the show, introduce him, Dr. Marc Heinecke. Dr.
Hello.
Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
We aren't going to be too formal on this episode because we're friends. We started our PhD journey quite literally at the same time, in the same class, everything. We started that journey 6 years ago, August 2020. And Marc, it's interesting. We really walked that journey together. Like we've never met in person. I know you just met one of our colleagues at the
Yep.
NSDA conference. He's like, right, Dr. Tahir, who's been on my show. He's like, you got to get on Sarah's show. So
Yep.
I finally got you. Yes. I've been
Yep.
asking for a long time.
Yep. Yeah, we
So
started.
go ahead.
I said we started. It was probably just, I think we started around the 21st of August. I
It,
remember, I just remember just because the way, the things that were going on around then.
oh, we started
Yeah.
in COVID. We got so
I
much to
just got,
talk about, Marc. I'm so excited for our listeners
yeah. Yeah.
to feel this friendship and to know that like when I talk about the PhD journey and I launched this podcast, like you were on my journey with me. Absolutely. So was Rayhan, so was Maria, who's just about done, and Greg, and so many of our colleagues, peers in the program. But you and I, in particular, really were there for each other at every milestone along the way.
Hmm. Yes.
Some of it was good, some of it wasn't so good. We got a lot of memories to rehash here.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, because you are my friend, let me at least introduce you professionally.
Okay.
Okay, so Marc, at one point in time we were just Marc and Sarah, but Dr. Marc Heinecke, well deserved title. A lot of hard work. I watched this friend put in a lot of hard work. He's the assistant athletic director of strength and conditioning at a private school in North Carolina. He's got 20 plus years of experience across NCAA Division One and Division Two schools. He, I don't know how to explain this to people when I read you your dissertation topic. Marc is like very quantitative, very exercise science physiology, very data driven, very metrics oriented. I am the polar opposite. I'm perspectives and motivation and I have to tell you, the first time you started to talk to me about some of the things that we learned, I had no idea what you were talking about. It was so foreign to me. But let me read the title of your dissertation and then we'll just start talking. You study the association between markers for strength and key performance indicators in high school football players. And you did an exploratory study, but it was quantitative, all
Yes.
quantitative.
Yes.
And I remember we used to have conversations, and you would explain to me Newton's laws of physics, and
You tried to.
no, I had
Yes.
no idea what you're talking about.
Yes. I
So
mean,
say what you want to say.
it was, I mean, just within strength and condition, everything originally I would say everything is quantitative. I have some colleagues that will tell you that even though I don't like the qualitative stuff, every day we do use it. You know, you always ask how the athlete's feeling, because if they're tired, if they're fatigued, something, you might want to adjust what they're doing that day. But I mean, everything in athletics is almost quantitative. You know, you have to swim a certain time to qualify for something. You know, there's numbers that you have to shoot for. And I mean, if you're keeping score, that's quantitative. And in athletics, the end game is to win. Yes, we want to develop better individuals, but that's like a secondary track. Like, you're not getting fired because you have high quality people. You get fired because you didn't win any games. And so that's where the key performance indicators in my study, like, what is football looking at that's indicating, oh, he's going to be a good football player. Maybe I should have him on my team. And that's not, is he a high quality person? Yes, that can help you, but we're there in football. They look at how fast you run, how high you jump, and a couple of strength measurements. So
Yeah. So gosh, I don't even know where to start. I think I'm just going to start class one because because now that I know you, I've known you for 6 years now. I understand your world a little bit better and how important the things that you're saying, in terms of performance are. And so, but let's go back to that first philosophy class.
yes, yes.
Thoughts?
Um, I would have to reread some of the books, and so, like,
Was it
I
was
don't, I think that was there were a couple of classes that I still don't understand why we had to take. And for me, this was one of them. I mean, I understand it's a philosophy, it's a doctorate in philosophy. So we need to be able to philosophize. But reading some of those things and everything just seemed so circular. Like, 90% of it didn't make sense. I spent most of the time trying to figure out why are they making, instead of trying to understand what I was reading. I was like, why am I reading this? Like, this is
I
supposed
think
to be,
it
like,
I
health and human performance. And I know we had the leadership aspect, but it was health and human performance. I'm like, this has nothing to do with human performance.
but Mark, I feel like we had to take that first class to help us figure out where we fit,
Yes.
right? Like we both figured out really early on when we started to become friends and started to understand each other's writings and respond to each other's writings. Like I was more towards the social sciences and you were more towards um, quantitative, you know, data analytics. I can't remember. It
Mhm.
was like deductive and inductive reasoning.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it wrong at this point, but
No,
maybe you
and
remember.
there was there were like six different categories, and I can't
Yeah.
remember in the first class. And I was definitely in the top going through them. I just remember I was number one and maybe leaned into number two. And then
What was
after that,
positivism? Was it
yes.
positivism?
And then there was one after that that I was like, maybe. And then three, four, five, and six, I was like, why am I even reading this? This makes no sense.
However, we made it through that first class. We both were just a little bit like, and I guess to explain to our listeners, like it was on like a discussion board, and you would put a post up,
Yeah.
and you would respond. So in that first class, we were just kind of getting to understand each other and our worldviews. Then they threw us into cardiovascular response to exercise and advanced cardio and advanced neuro.
Yes.
I had you know who for 16 straight weeks.
Yes. He's the only teacher I had. I had nobody else but Dr. Tufano.
Okay, so
So
we're gonna say his name. We're gonna say his name
when we, when
because
we
we
went
love
to
him. We do love him. In retrospect, we
when
do
we
love
went
him.
to get our committee, like, I didn't know who to ask because he was a teacher, and then he was they took away a couple classes because he started teaching at Prague, and so he wasn't allowed to be on committees anymore. So I was like, I don't know any of these people. I don't know who to ask, and I don't know who I'd even want on my committee. So I had to ask him for suggestions of who to be the chair of the committee because I had I knew none of them. Like, I had him for even my elective classes that we took. He was
So
my
then
professor, and I'm just sitting there like,
your journey was tougher than mine because, I mean, I guess maybe we did kind of at a couple points in time we were in some different classes, but then we always came back to each other at each milestone. But so, Dr. Tefano, if you're listening to this, in hindsight, you're probably the best teacher I had in the program. But at the time,
he and I talked about, like, he's
it
actually
was
was
tough. It was tough.
he
He
was the
hazed
first one.
us.
He was the first one that I met. I met him at a conference too. I was presenting a poster, and I met him at a conference because he was judging all the posters. And I mean,
Why was he so tough?
he wanted you to earn it. He wanted to feel like you accomplished something. And I mean, he was in. I mean, most of the people that we dealt with, I think, were probably athletes. But I mean, he was an athlete, so like that was his whole like. I don't want to say it was he had to prove himself every time on the field, which you kind of do, but it's like you have to earn what you're getting, and he wanted to make sure that. I mean, I don't know what the stat was, like 1 or 2% of people have a PhD.
It's very low. It's
It's
like
very low. And
1%.
so he wanted to make sure that we weren't just getting a piece of paper, that we actually earned everything that comes with with the PhD.
You're so right, Mark. And it's so interesting because there's a handful of us, and we talked about it back then. Now, we're talking about fall of 2020 and maybe
Mm-hmm.
early spring 2021. And there were a handful of us that were going through this experience in our lives. And we actually had a heart of gratitude for it. It was tough. It was really tough. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. Mark knows because he was in it. But for some reason, you and me and a handful of some of us, some people quit the program, some people complained to the program directors, and we kind of went through it with this like, okay, I think he's trying to teach us something in this, and we were open to learning in that experience, and I think that's why we were able to continue on.
I mean, I know for a fact that one of the classes that we didn't take together, it was more of a sports science class. Like,
Yeah.
um, and I remember, we had the requirements, 2 or 3 responses, and I was doing 3 or 4, and I know he get like what 4 out of 5 or 5. I don't know. I got like a high B on something, and his only response was, "You didn't reply to enough people," and I was like, "I replied to more than what the syllabus said. Like
Right.
I replied to more than what the syllabus said," and he said, "Yes, but this is your not necessarily your topic, but this is your like bread and butter. This should be easy for you. You need to pull the information out of your classmates. You need to find a way to pull it out of your classmates and respond to them." And I'm just in there like, that's your. My initial thought was, you're the teacher. You should, but
No,
he wanted to make sure he wanted me to think outside the box,
yes.
and by doing that, I'm gaining more knowledge in the topic area and helping them think of what we were talking about in a different perspective. And I think that was his whole that I think that was his whole thing for just about every class was, we need to broaden what we're doing and think outside the box and not just give the cookie cutter answer to everything. That's
I
to
think
him that
he
was.
taught us so many lessons. I think that like looking back, and that's why I was so excited to do this with you today. Like looking back on this, it's so interesting to me. And this podcast is all about the lessons that, I learned on the journey. Sometimes when you're going through things in your life and you just take this attitude, like you just dig yourself in a hole when you don't keep yourself open to understanding maybe the bigger picture of it all.
Yeah.
Because he wanted us to learn how to write scientifically.
Yep. And think
And
scientifically.
and he told us we were writing blog posts and people some of the people were coming in like, I'm a great writer. How can you say this to me? And his sole goal was like to get us to think for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and to push us hard, because he knew what was coming down the road for us.
Yes.
Because I don't know how many people understand this, but when you get your PhD, at least in our program, I don't know if all doctoral programs are like this, the coursework, the 3 years of coursework, the 67 credits that we did, that's the easy part. They said that to us. They're like, that's the easy part. And we're thinking to ourselves, how can that be the easy part?
Yeah.
Because after you finish your coursework, you then have to apply for candidacy to get your PhD. You're not automatically in it. You have to apply. And one more thing, and I want to give it back to you to talk about this part. You have to get through comps after all your
Yes.
coursework. And Mark and I, we had the old format of comps. We had the long form.
Mm-hmm. They
So tell
changed it.
me, so tell me about how you felt. And here we are. We got through our coursework. We learned a lot about each other. We learned about a lot of, evidence-based science and a lot of animal studies that made very hard to understand. How did you feel when we hit that milestone of comps?
I mean, I I wasn't relieved. I mean, the I just remember writing, and like I remember sitting. I had to work a basketball game, and I'm sitting in the top of the stands trying to type part of the paper during the middle of a basketball tournament, and then doing the same thing and re-editing it during Christmas break. Um, because you get your subject, not your subject, but they give you a subject you have to write on, and then
Um,
you got 3 weeks. They grade it for 3 weeks, and you either pass or you have to make some edits, and it's just like that 3 weeks was the worst part, just waiting to see what
waiting.
they said. And I mean, then just trying to figure out what, because they give you edits, but they don't really give you a lot of information about the edits.
It was
It's more like
hard. It was
kind of
hard.
change this because you're not hitting the point, or yeah.
I want people to understand, and I don't mean to embarrass you, but I'm gonna just say it because I have the utmost respect for you and admiration. Marc went through this program raising a young daughter, Ella, who I've had the pleasure to watch grow over the years. She's an amazing athlete. You're such a devoted husband, such a devoted father. Marc worked full time. Marc worked on a school laptop. You had very bare minimum equipment. And I used to say, how are you doing all this on that little laptop? How are you writing your dissertation? You need more equipment. Didn't I used to tell you that?
Yeah, I still have that same actually that laptop died halfway through, and so we had to pull everything off the
I remember
laptop.
that.
And
I
we didn't
remember.
get everything, but we got most of it.
I remember that. We had loss. You lost a beloved pet. You
Hmm.
lost your father-in-law.
Uh-huh.
You had all these things. And you know what? And you are one of the people that I have never heard complain about it. You just even when you got your PhD, you're so modest about it. And I'm really proud of you and to be at this moment and to reflect on it together. It's remarkable. It just says a lot about you, and I'm really grateful to know you and to have watched you go through it. I know how hard you worked. I know it. I saw you struggle, like learning APA. Like you're not an APA person. You're a strength and conditioning coach. You're in the weight room. You know, everything there is about lifting and performance, and they pushed you to learn little details like a period goes here and a semicolon goes here and you did it and you learned it and you got through it. And I just want to say, I really want to say publicly because I don't even know if you didn't even go to graduation. So I want this episode, this is your moment. And I want to say congratulations to you on all your hard work.
Thank
Really,
you.
really proud of you.
Thank you.
So we did it.
Yes. Yes. It took some time, but we got through it.
You did. And I also want to say, without going too much into it, and I've talked about it on past episodes, Marc had to weather a storm outside of his control. I just talked about this with Arwen on the last episode. It was beyond his control. It had to do with somebody on his dissertation committee. We're not going to go too deep into it. It was a very sad situation, and he had to literally pause and wait. And we had a conversation about it. And I don't know if you remember it. And I said, I think this person's been really loyal to you. I think you have to wait it out. And
Hmm.
um, And you did. And you made a great friend in
Hmm.
that person that you and I both know who I'm talking about. And so there was another example of you could have pivoted, you could have quit. I mean, there's so many things that could have derailed you. And you stayed focused on it. You stayed focused on the goal. So how are you like that? What makes you like that? To teach other
I,
people.
I don't know. Um, I mean, yeah, I
Put you
don't
on the
know.
spot.
Because I mean, yeah,
It's just who
I'm
you
just,
are.
yeah, I guess I don't want to say I'm laid back, but I mean, I guess something good's going to come up, if something closes, something else is going to open. Like I was thinking when, I said we started almost exactly 6 years ago, right before that.
Right, you're right. August. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Today's
See,
August 21st.
yeah, the probably like 2 days, like I got admitted late, but like 2 days before, actually the day before I actually got admitted, we're in the middle of COVID and school was about to start. So, I reported back to the place I was working and I was told I didn't need to report back anymore. So, you know, that what they told me I had an hour to clean out my office, all that good stuff. And it's like, I'd been there 12 years, 10 years, something like that. I'd been there for a while. And then the funny thing was I remember because it was pouring down rain. And when I got home, Ella and I went for a walk and there were like three or four rainbows out. And then the next day, I want to say it was like a day or two later, I got accepted into the program. And then it started within 2 days of when I got accepted.
Mark,
So, I mean, it's to go back to,
you're,
th-
Mark, you're
I know everybody, the cliche, when one door opens, or when one door closes, something else opens. And I mean, it's, and I guess I don't want to say sports teach you a lot more lessons than you think, but
does.
there's not, I know in baseball you can throw a perfect game as a pitcher, but you're never going to play a perfect game. And it's usually in equally matched opponents, whoever makes the fewest mistakes, or better yet, whoever responds in a more positive manner. Like if something bad happens, right? I think Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So it's like something bad's going to happen in every game that you play. And it just kind of depends on how you respond to it. So I think, in a sense, sports kind of teach you the lesson of, yeah, you can take the punch and quit, or you can keep going and, something good's going to happen from it.
So, two things. We just kind of, I've been trying to get him on the show for a while, and he just texted me like 2 days ago. I think a school meeting got something changed, and like I can do it at 1:30. Like, let's go, let's do it, let's get this, let's do this. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I did not put two and two together that this is August 21st,
Yeah.
2026.
Yeah. So it was right around this time. I don't know if it was the 20th, 21st,
That's
22nd.
unbelievable.
I'd have to go back on Facebook timeline and check.
So that's number one. We did not plan that. It just happened, and I just figured it out just now with you. I also think you have a very strong faith. I think it's guided you through a lot of these curveballs in your life, and I respect it. And we've talked about it throughout the years. And yeah, I I have so much respect for you, and I do think that sports has a lot to do with it. And I will say we used to have a sidebar chat. It was a group of us, and we all be kind of stressing out. And Mark used to be like, "Just go enjoy your weekend." It's kind of
Yes.
like what you were
That,
just saying. Just go enjoy your weekend. You guys
that's
are stressing too much.
because my wife never understood how it, like, she's like, you're not worried about it. I'm like, well, I'm either going to pass or I'm like, st- staying up an extra 5 hours to write or to look. I mean, it's not going to me, it's not going to change that much. You either know it or you don't. You like, and she'd be the exact opposite. She will worry about every little thing, and I feel like the more you worry about it, the more you're going to try to change, and that could just ruin the whole. If you're writing a paper, that could ruin the whole paper because you're worried about every little. I'm not saying you shouldn't worry about every detail, but you're going to end up changing something, and it's not going to be what you intended to write.
You have a lot of wisdom, my friend. You're
I mean,
quiet, but you have a lot of wisdom. And you used to do little things that I really appreciated, like our side chats. You used to change the background. Remember that? I was like, can you send me
yes.
a good background? Get me extra, you'd be like football season or whatever it was.
So somebody else, Ella does that now. She found out how to change backgrounds on text messages. So every time I get a text from her mom now, it's like if she takes the phone and she just puts a different picture of her in the background. It's like, okay,
Yeah, it was
yeah,
fun. You brought so much, you just brought a lot of peace, a lot of stability, and a lot of humor through the whole journey. And then let's talk about Ella. Ella was just a little Ella is how old now?
she's 11. She had just
When you
started kindergarten and now she's just started middle school.
so when she started, she was just did she even know how to swim yet?
No, because it was COVID. I don't want to say she didn't know how to swim, but she
But
didn't swim
not like
competitively. Yeah.
I mean, and look at her now. She his
She wouldn't put her face in the water. She wouldn't even go underwater then.
and now I've had the opportunity to watch some, the videos of her swimming, and she's just she's a tremendous athlete. Now she's in I think we before we started to record today, you're saying
Field hockey.
she's in field hockey and she's playing with older kids.
Yes. She started playing last year. She joined a club field hockey team and she was with the 10 and unders and she was only 10. The coach called, actually, she might have been 9 when she started, but the coach called her up and had her play with the 12 and 14-year-olds. And she's shy and nervous and really didn't want to, but she stayed with it. And now it's like she's in 6th grade playing with 8th and 9th graders. And the
It,
field hockey coach gave her a lot of confidence. I mean, she saw her at the conference swim meet this year, and the field hockey coach got a picture with her. And I mean, I said it on social media. It was Coach Roxy. She gave her confidence to play with the older kids, and that confidence carried over on the pool this year because in her age group she was one of the top swimmers in the butterfly and the 50 free, and it was because of that field hockey coach.
yeah, I mean, the reason this is important to talk about Ella, not only because Ella's adorable and she's an incredible person and athlete, and I know she's just such a light in your life, but it's to demonstrate that, like,
Most days.
Mark, what?
I said most days.
But yeah, I know sometimes it's,
Yeah.
parenting, but Mark, I mean, Mark's a full-time parent and very involved in his daughter's life. And you still manage to, when people say, I can't do it, I don't know, I don't have time for it. And I'm not judging anybody for saying that. I just want you to learn from somebody like Mark. Mark, you had more responsibilities in your life than I did. And so you figured out how to do it. Like you said, you sat in the bleachers to write your papers. I mean, it would be fun to write a list of all the places you got your work done. You probably did a lot on the floor in the gym. I mean,
Yes.
you know,
Floor in the floor in the gym, outside at soccer games.
I mean,
Um,
it's so much to commend you on. So, okay, so now you know the type of person he is. Now, let's talk about your research. Okay?
okay.
So you've passed comps. We formed our dissertation committees. We both kind of started that process around the same time. Tell us about your study and how that went.
Um, the study, I mean, it was basically in elite level athletes, college and above. I mean, there's ton of research that, indicates, yes, if you get stronger in your squat, if you get stronger in your cleans, you're going to run faster at any distance between 10 and 100 meters, even 200 meters for some research. And this is done on like elite soccer players, track athletes. A lot of it's done on some football players, even baseball.
Hmm.
But nothing is done on youth. And see, I wanted to look specifically at college players going into the NFL, but like I just said, there's a lot done on that already. And
Hmm.
so, talking with um, my chair, Dr. Winchester, he's like, "What hasn't been done?" And it's like, well, high school, middle school, there's not much. But when you look at that, why hasn't it been done? Because, well, they're a protected population. And if we look at specifically in the United States, weightlifting is frowned upon for anybody like, I mean, you depend on who you ask, realistically, the end of puberty. So that could be like for some kids, 16 years old and younger, there's still a perception that they shouldn't be lifting. But that, number one, that's very, very misguided. And even as I want to say, like 2010, the American Academy of Pediatrics went totally against that and said the kids are becoming so inactive, and because of that, they're strength and even their cardio levels are so bad that resistance training is almost a necessity
Mm.
for most kids. And that, I mean, and they've gone as far as saying like if they're old enough to listen, and they should be training, which most 7-year-olds can listen. They may not be able to listen for more than 10 or 15 minutes, but so obviously that was a population that we could look at later. But like, so we went from, okay, what's the next population below college? And it's like, oh, high school. And a lot of the thing is, it's like, should high school players train the same as college players? Because a lot of people look and they're like, oh, Alabama's doing this, so we need to do this. Oh, Duke basketball is doing. It's like, maybe, but you're not the same athlete as those guys. But at the same time, you know, there's probably a lot of similarities of carryover between what they're doing and what you can do, just not 100% the same. So, I mean, keeping it with football, we just basically performed a NFL combine and added some weightlifting exercises. And I mean, there's very, very strong correlations between, your squat, your clean, and a hip thrust and vertical jump, broad jump, 10 yard, 5 yard, 10 yard, 20 yard, and 40 yard speed. And so it's like we saw that that can be a foundation. Those are all foundational lifts. Like first thing most people learn to do is squat.
Hmm.
Next, hip thrust is very easy to teach. Olympic lifting, I mean, there's a real good correlation between Olympic lifting and athletic ability or KPIs, but a lot of people don't like that lift because it can be hard to teach.
Can I say
But
one
this is
quick?
indicating that they should learn how to do it or find something that can replicate it. But yes, we're
Can I
your
say
your
one quick thing?
yes,
So as you're starting to talk about your research, like Mark, you had obstacles with your research.
yes.
I mean,
There
I just want people to understand, like, this is somebody who worked so hard through every, you were tested, I believe, observing you as your friend and trying to be on the sideline there for you. You were tested so many times, so many times. And we had conversations along the way. And I hope that you, in looking back, realize I was always like, you're not giving up. And you're just not. I don't care how long it takes, you're not giving up. And
um,
so even with your research, he had so much pushback about um, you have to go through the institutional review board. Is this safe? Can you run a study? How are you going to measure it this way? How are you going to measure it that way? You got kickback when you went through the IRB that said you can't run the study this way. You got to run it that way. And then you're like scratching your head. Well, how am I going to run my study this way? And so this was never a straight, easy path, ever.
no. I mean, the initial kickback, obviously, because we were using the protected class with the high
Yep.
school kids and trying to find a way to make sure it was safe. And it was just like, even with the suggested protocols by every organization, the IRB, it took a while to convince the IRB that, yes, even though every strength organization says this is how you should do it and this is how you should spot it and these are the protocols to use,
They still
we had to reword a lot of it because they did not like it. And then
remember.
the next kickback came because originally, like when I was talking, I mean, I have having worked at the place I used to work at, a lot of my old athletes are high school coaches. So like I thought I was going to get easily 6, 7 full high school teams. So that would have been like 300 subjects minimum, which then it wouldn't have been an exploratory study. That would have been like a full blown. But then I would have to go through a whole new IRB because you have to go through the school districts. And in North Carolina, that the school districts have enough other issues that they're really not worried about somebody doing a study on their kid. That's the least of their concerns. So we had to find I don't want to call it a loophole, but we we went to a private facility and we had to find a private facility and use a private facility without that way that we didn't have to involve the actual school districts.
You're
because we were going to go
adaptable.
to their high schools and make it part of their, but then we went to a private facility that trained, um because even in North Carolina, like, not all the high schools have strength coaches. They may have weight rooms. Some of them may not even have weight rooms. So there are a couple private facilities, and luckily I found a private facility to help out with that.
And then it wasn't even just about running the study and collecting the data. I watched you, they pushed you so hard with writing a
Yes.
chapter and having to go back. How many times did you have to go back?
I mean, it was a different, like, talking to a bunch of people. They got to write their whole chapter. I was never allowed to write more than like 2 or 3 paragraphs at a time getting without it being edited. And then it would be edited by not one, but all three members of the
Three or four?
committee,
Three,
and they
three.
all three, and they all wanted something a little different.
And I remember that they would tell Mark, see, this is why this is so important for us to unpack this in this episode because, like, the podcast is called the PhD Journey Unplugged. We've learned so many lessons on that journey, but we also are both here to say that whether it's the athletic journey, the academic journey, professional journey, personal journey, it's never just, life just doesn't work that way. And so you can't give up when things get hard, when there's obstacles in your path. You can't, I mean, I guess you can, but it's so much more gratifying and satisfying to say, you know what? You did it. I mean, we're looking back on it. I mean, you lived
Mhm.
this. Now we're looking back on it. I mean, I remember you saying like I have to go back and redo this again. And it was heartbreak. I mean, sometimes it was like really hard for me to watch. I just want you to know that. But I knew you were
There's
going
one
to
time
get through it. I knew you were going to get through it.
I thought I was done with 2 chapters, and then I had to go back and not totally rewrite the one chapter because I wasn't even supposed to start that, and yeah,
Yeah, and then this thing happened in the summer. Was it the summer or fall?
I think it was end of summer, early
And it was a
fall.
really sad thing that happened to his somebody on his committee, and you had to wait for 2 or 3 months
Yes.
for the wheels to start rolling again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible. Okay, I'm sorry, I kind of went off that, but I think I'm just really proud of you. All right, back to the study. What did you find in your study?
I mean, the biggest thing,
Like why? Why does it matter? Sorry for that question, but
I think it lays the groundwork, number one, for future studies on, okay, if these are the exercises that correlate the best, these strength exercises correlate the best with these speed and power out numbers. What happens if we increase the strength numbers? Are we going to see them running faster? Are we going to see them jumping higher? Which, if we look at older individuals, that's the case. So it lays the groundwork for that, but it also, like I said, it gives us an indication that, okay, hip dominant exercises are extremely important, especially in the first 10 to 20 meters of a run for football players. This is specifically, we used all football players. So hip dominant exercises are, and it used to be everybody would go to as a squat, but the power clean and hip thrust were as strongly correlated or even more strongly correlated in most of the exercises, which those are more hamstring and glute oriented, and the squat has always been more of a quad type exercise depending on how you do it. So I think it shifts the focus of, okay, maybe in sprinting, it has been shown that sprinting is a quad, or not a quad, sprinting is a glute and hamstring dominant activity. The bigger your glutes are, usually the faster you're going to run, depending on how much force you can produce. But the size of your backside has a strong impact on how fast you're going to run. So we need to train that. And one of the things that probably gets overlooked the most.
remember how many times you used to explain to me like force, velocity? I was like, I just,
That was a, I mean,
I so
physics
struggled with it all. Physics.
physics 101, force equals mass times acceleration.
I know.
If you go back to algebra, rearrange your equation, acceleration equals what was it? If we move it over, acceleration equals force divided by mass. So your mass when you're running remains constant. So really, how much force you're able to produce with each step is going to dictate your acceleration. And forces, now granted, you have a limited time. Like in a weight room, you probably have a full second to develop maximum force, and when you're sprinting, it's like a tenth of a second. But the more force you're producing, the faster you should be moving, or at least in the acceleration phase.
So this is why I love our friendship because I still don't understand anything you just said.
It's
And wait, but I used to push you on the psychology stuff, the motivation stuff. We come from our brains are wired. See, this is what is so beautiful about people and connection and being open to learning and because our brains are wired so differently.
yes, that's all numbers. If I add more numbers to that, it makes sense.
And we recognize that very, very early on in our journey. No, I'm just joking. I understand what you're saying. And there's plenty of people like you out there that are, hardcore exercise science scientists and performance metrics, data-oriented people. And it's pretty much why you formed your dissertation committee team the way you did. They wouldn't have even agreed to take you on if they didn't see that potential in you. That's the other aspect of this journey. You don't get to just pick your dissertation committee. You have to ask permission and they have to want to take you on
Mm-hmm.
as a student,
Exactly.
And I will say that Mark got probably the hardest dissertation chair that you could have had in the program. Really tough, really, and very well
Was
respected. So you had
he
a
he
great
did things
mentor.
he did things a lot compared to who else I've talked to. He does things a little bit more backwards than most people, because most people start on chapter one and they go forward, and he's like, no, we're not even going to worry about chapter one. We're not going to worry about, you got to figure out the background before you can even write chapter one. I'm like, the background? He's like, yes, you need to have at least a 50-page lit review so you can actually form your question. So I mean, I had my question. He's like, no, that's not our question right now.
He pushed
you,
you.
you, you need to get the whole background before. But I mean, it sounded, I mean, at the time it sounded dumb, but
No, he taught you.
going back, I mean, it made writing chapter one and three a lot easier because I had everything laid out in front of me. Like I knew everything that had been done. So we revised the questions a little bit, but I mean, I already had the support for it. So, I mean, writing chapter one and three made it, I mean, it was a lot easier.
Can we tell our audience how many research questions you had, how many pages your dissertation was, and how many
Um,
references? I don't know if you can remember all those details, but I know it was very intense.
I remember at one point we were up to like maybe 15 research questions, but we kind of combined
15.
them. We combined some of them because there was a little bit of overlap. Like, I mean, if you break it down, like how does a squat correlate to a 10-yard or a 5-yard, 10-yard, 20-yard, and 40-yard sprint? That's four questions. That's four technically separate different questions. And then you do that for a clean, and then you do that for I mean, so we managed to get it down to probably under 10, but it was still 10 separate research questions with
It was a
10
big
separate
study.
hypotheses.
It was a
Yes.
big study for a PhD student.
And I think I know the literature review was close to 100 pages, and I think the results were close to 100 pages, just because the results were right around 100 pages, because with that many questions, I had a lot of graphs. And then not only did we do the correlations, but we did regression equations. So based off the regression equations, I could predict your 5 yard speed based off your squat, clean, and deadlift, or your squat, clean, and bench press and hip thrust. I could predict your 5 yard speed based off your standing vertical and your broad jump. So we I think we ended up with 20 regression equations and about 200 graphs from their correlations.
So I had the honor to read your work along the way, and you put so much hard work into your graphs, into your statistics, into your data charts. It just was incredible. Um, yeah, I also had the opportunity to see your final defense presentation and just so much work. I mean, there were so many steps in this journey, and it's incredible. This is an incredible moment for us to reflect. I want to come back in another 5 years and see where we both are, or 6 years.
Yes,
Every 5 years.
every 5 years.
Okay.
That'd be, yeah.
We'll be like, Ella's getting married. Oh my gosh.
Let's not go that
Uh,
7 years. 7 years she'll be done with high school. We got to get
let's
that
slow it
far.
down.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to read something that I read. I'm reading a really good book, and then I want to go a little bit longer with you because I am enjoying having you on, and this is an important moment for both of us on our journeys. So for our audience, like I hope you'll stay tuned in. I know when I get too long, tend to lose people's attention, but I'm reading a really good book, and it's by Bruce Lee's daughter, Shannon
Okay.
Lee. It's called Be Water, My Friend. It's a really good book. It just teaches us about how the properties in water can teach us so much about life and flowing through life. And I think that you are an excellent example of what everything it's teaching us in here because you had so many moments along the way to fight back, to give up, to create resistance, tension, and you handled it all with grace, humor, and just a peacefulness about it all, and acceptance with it. And so it's really incredible. And so when I read this today, earlier, I read these two paragraphs and I really thought of you. So here's what I'm going to read, okay? In honor of you. Many factors affect us and alter our responses and reactions to even the most basic of our routines. So, to create hard and fast rules or assumptions about how we live or about how life should be can get us into trouble fast, especially when life decides to throw us a curveball. In the words of the Greek philosopher Heraclitus, I don't know if I said that right. No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man. Each day we are different, and circumstances are different. Even when a situation you have encountered before appears to be the same, it's not. Nothing is constant. There are always subtleties at play. The complexity of life means that every single moment and situation and challenge is new, maybe only slightly so, but still worthy of your presence and pliability nonetheless. And that, my friend, is you. And you demonstrated it. And I'm honored to call you my friend. I'm honored to walk this journey with you. And I'm excited to see what comes next for you as you continue to educate people. You know, ultimately, you're an educator in strength and conditioning, in the strength and conditioning world. Let me ask you, I have a question I want to wrap up with, but let me ask you one quick question. When you went to the National Strength Conditioning Association conference last month,
Yes.
how did that
Yes.
go? What did you learn, and how was your research received?
Um, I mean, it went pretty well. I mean, it was in New Orleans. There's a lot of research, and th- um, yeah, from what I can tell, it was received fairly well. Didn't have too many complex questions. I know there was some, depending on the study and depending on how what methods you use to get your answers that can dictate what type of questions you had. But I mean, even the committee chair, when he and I were talking about it, he's like, we use pretty straightforward methods. Like, so you shouldn't have your methodology questioned. And the stats, I mean, obviously SPSS helps us with our stats. So it should be pretty straightforward. And for the most part, I mean, it was. So I think that helped the fact, I mean, that it was received well. The, the thing with the NSCA conference, especially the national conference, it has obviously educators, researchers. It has strength coaches involved. It has some medical aspect. It has nutritionists. It has medical aspect. It has physical therapists. So it's like a wide range. So there is a lot of research going in, and it's like, I don't want to say it's overwhelming. Like, you could get lost trying to figure out what you have to have a plan of what you want to learn for that day or that segment. Um,
Good advice.
for me, for me, I mean, you can go to the talks. I hate to say it. I feel like some of the talks are recycled. Like, I feel like I went to listen to the same person talk about the same thing 3 years ago, 6 years. Like, I feel like some of it, the hour-long talks, it's not necessarily about the research, but like it's more like a lit review, and it's like, has it changed that much? Maybe, maybe not. Um, they have the 10-minute talks that are a lot of 10 to 15-minute talks that are like a lot of the doctoral and master student theses and dissertations, and then they have the posters. And I think for me, I get a lot more out of the posters because I can read it and look at it, and like the not that I don't follow along when they're talking, but
More detail on the posters.
there's more detail on the posters, and I can think about it before having, and then ask, because the person's 90% of the time standing right there. But when they're doing their talk, you have to hold the question, and by the time they get to questions, you may or may not get to ask it, and that kind of leaves you as, okay, I'm still confused. With the poster, you're looking through it and you're like, that one spot doesn't make sense to me, and that they can clarify it right then and there, right as you're thinking about it. And I mean, it was it's not something I learned. I mean, there's a lot of, it's funny to look at. Didn't really apply to us, but if you go, there are certain schools, and it's like you can see what their focus is. Like, I want to say it was Coastal Carolina. They're doing, and it's funny because one of our basketball players is going there now, and he's been working out with me at home, but his strength coach sent me the program, and they're doing, in this program they had a lot of stuff with accentuated overload and eccentric. So we don't have weight releasers, so I had to figure out a way for him to do the exercises without the fancy equipment. And then I go to this conference, and it's like they had 6 posters on eccentric type activity, and I'm like, okay, this makes sense. But it was like, that was Coastal Sing eccentric activity, and then there's another one, I mean, and just on female athletes. And obviously there's always a debate, should female athletes train the same as male athletes? But there's a lot of, that's an untapped, remember back in nutrition, we they said there's no nutrition, a lot of the nutrition studies are done on males. They're
Yeah.
done on either in elite endurance athletes, marathoners, or power lifters, and there's nothing in between. And so that's where we're getting all of our guidelines on. So I mean, the same thing in lifting and exercise. Like, it's all done on football players, runners, and swimmers, and mainly 90% male. But like, I want to say Furman started doing a lot of stuff on specifically geared toward female athletes, and not necessarily, a lot of it had to do with the ACL, but
Yeah. Can I say one thing? I heard a rumor that, or not a rumor, a buzz that I'm joining you guys next year. Rayhan, one of our
oh yeah, he said. He said because next year's the 50th
Yeah,
anniversary of the
so because
NSCA,
I'm going.
and it's in Vegas.
Okay,
So it's
guess we're
like
all going.
I told Katie's like, yeah, if it's in Vegas, we should start saving now to see if we can make it. And it's the 50th anniversary, so it's like it should be a big one. Of course, Ella found out, and she's like, I have to go. We didn't take her to New Orleans. She was
And I
very mad.
just let's give a shout out to Katie because Katie she's a trainer too.
She's an athletic trainer, so she
This is his wife.
yes, she deals with all, she gets to deal with all the injuries
Yeah, she's
and
incredible.
fix every. Yes, we actually we were this past spring. We went up. We met on the lacrosse field. So I was working at Maryland. She was working at Virginia. We won't discuss the outcomes of those games, but we went up to Charlottesville to celebrate one of her team's undefeated seasons, and I mean, the kids still they made sure that she was there. All of her athletes made sure that she was there and had a good time.
You guys are the best. I mean it. You teach us all so much about hard work and life and good values and good moral compass and just all of it. So just it's I'm honored to know you, really. I'm going to leave you with my last question I've been asking everybody, and you can answer it any way you want. And I just want my audience to understand, like, we only have so much time. Mark is so smart. We could dive into like so many things that you share with us, right? I'm just trying to give everybody like a sense of what the journey was like, what your research was like, and the caliber of a human being that you are. So you have to understand, like, I can't go into all these different nuances of everything that you know, but I know you're doing great work. I'm gonna ask you this question, and then anybody wants to reach out to you, how they can contact you, okay? All right, so here's the question. Answer it any way you want, literally, figuratively. Well, you're probably going to answer it literally, but push yourself, maybe metaphorically, however, quantitatively, qualitatively. Okay. Dr. Marc Heinecke, what are we training for?
What are we training for? Um, I mean, realistically, just to be better than you were today, be better than you were tomorrow, to be a better version of yourself tomorrow and the day after. Um, I mean that I've seen the graph and I always mess it up, but if you get 1% better each day, you're either gonna. I mean, I always told my athlete, and there's one, and he still gives me a hard time about this. Um, you're either getting each day, you're either getting better, or you're getting worse. You don't stay the same. Like you're either getting better at your craft, what you're trying to do at your academics, at whatever your career, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. So if you're getting there's a there's a graph out there that shows if you get 1% better each day, like eventually exponentially that just like takes off and it's almost a perfect vertical trajectory. On the flip side, if it's 1% worse each day, eventually, I mean, there's nothing less. So it's like you're not staying the same. You either get better or you get worse. So we're training to get better at what that
Individualized.
better swimmer, better runner, better lifter. But we're trying to get better at something. Psychologically, making connections with the people so we can help them out. I don't know, but
That was that was good. You threw,
we're trying to get better.
you threw that in there for me.
Yes,
I know
you
you
got to
did.
make connections.
I know, I know. All right. Well, anybody out in the world who listens to this, if they want to reach out to you, they want to learn more about your research, they want to connect with you, what is the best way to reach you?
Probably email.
Okay. Do you want to give that out here, or you want me to do it in the notes?
You can in the notes. You have my email. Yeah,
Okay, I'll
in the
put it in
notes.
the notes, how you can reach Mark, and We did it. We've been talking about
Yep,
doing this for a long
for a
time.
while. Yep,
We made it, Mark. We made it.
exactly.
Yep.
6 years.
Yep. This gentleman on this show with me today started the PhD journey with me. We're here reflecting on it, and I look forward to wherever our lives take us in the years to come, and staying the great friends that we are, and just being there for each other.
Exactly.
Okay, everybody, there you go. Dr. Marc Heinecke on the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. And oh, let me just say one thing. We never talked about a podcast.
No,
Never.
never,
We don't even know where, never.
never.
But here we are today. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. All right, bye-bye.